And at 10, White Rabbit. The White Rabbit is a version of Bonnie first appearing in Fnaf World, and while this game is probably the least respected and most hated in the series, my god is this thing terrifying. This is like a miniature version of Bonnie, alright? That's not so bad, right? Well, the thing is, it's completely white and has sunken black eyes with no pupils. Yeah, that makes this thing look freaking terrifying. I don't care, okay, that you go to the comments and complain that this character is here, okay? It happens every time I make a list. There's always like at least one person who says, oh, this isn't scary, why are they on this list? Scary is subjective, okay? So shove it. Anyway, this little white rabbit is one of the scariest versions of Bonnie in the series in my opinion. It's only higher up on the list because of the game. If it was in something like FNAF 4 or another main series title, it would have been scarier, especially putting it in a situation like that. But nevertheless, I still think it deserves the spotlight, and I think that it could be found in the back rooms, considering its design and its seemingly glitchedness. Okay, it doesn't feel like it should exist, hence why it would be in the back rooms. And it 8, Searchers. The Searchers are the Cycle's ink-comprised creatures and basically the primary grunt enemies that appear in the Bendy series. They're the ink blobs that pop up from the ground whenever you need a slew of enemies to fight off. And aside from the main version, there are actually several types of unique Searchers. There's minor Searchers, the swollen Searchers, which themselves have a variant. There's the mini-bosses, there's a boss type, and then there's the variant with Sammy's mask. The Searchers are essentially human-based creatures entirely made out of ink that have no souls, and are roughly 2/3 as tall as Henry, or at least that's how I felt how tall they were in the games. They have very flexible bodies, elongated arms. The lower part of their bodies also seems to like melt into puddles of ink, and then they're also like stuck within them. They have to crawl to move, and they leave the ink trails behind. Then they have like the most horrific mouths I think I've ever seen on a creature that is just pure ink, okay? They have like a ghoulish human face that has like a giant like SCP-193 mouth, okay? I don't get it. There's like 2 indentations where there should be eyes. They have like movable eyebrows. They seem to be human, but their legs are stuck in the ink, which isn't really helping their attitude. But yeah, they would also show up in the backrooms. This is like Backrooms 101 in terms of monster. Yeah. And at 8, High Score Toy Chica. High Score Toy Chica is the arcade skin for Toy Chica from the Arcade Mayhem event in FNAF AR Special Delivery. Last time I included System Error Toy Bonnie because a glitch like this would be present in the back rooms because it seems to be a sort of developer room where an animatronic like this could be present. High Score Toy Chica isn't really anything different. They're neon bluish black in color with glowing blue aura effects. It sports yellow and orange irises. Her forearms appear more blue and contain polycount textures. The Let's Party text for her bib is replaced by High Score in a pixelated font. And when her minigame appears, you gotta spam V to throw cupcakes at the child until they're happy. If you take too long, she's gonna jump scare you. But during encounters, she is replaced by her attack mode, Game Over Toy Chica. The glowing aura effects color changes from blue to purple and red. Her eyes are removed to reveal a red eye part thing. I don't know how to say this word, okay? Sclera, whatever. Her eyes are red, and her bib now reads Game Over. Like her original counterpart, her beak is also removed in this form. And you know what? This is totally something that I would expect to see in the back rooms, and she's kind of inviting me there, and maybe I wouldn't be too mad about it. And at 7, Mangle. Mangle is a major antagonist and one of the toy animatronics of the FNAF series, first appearing in FNAF 2. When transferring the core cast of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza into toy animatronics, Fazbear Entertainment tried to remake Foxy's design, thinking that the first one, ironically enough, was too scary. It was heavily altered to be more kid-friendly, making them the most drastically changed toy variant. However, now Mangle is just a muddled husk of endoskeleton that kids can pull apart and put back together, which is absolutely horrifying to say the least. But this kind of monster would absolutely be present in the horrific maze that is the backrooms. I mean, just take a look at the monster already shown to be there. Throw a pink face on it and then boom, it's Mangle, okay? It's the same concept as the Blob or Marion from the last part. It's just a jumbled mess of parts that would chase you until you throw yourself down a hole and drop your camera. And at 6, the Daycare Attendant. The Daycare Attendant, otherwise known in-game as Sun or Moon, is a superstar daycare animatronic that appears in Security Breach as a recurring antagonist in their Moon form. As Sun, the Daycare Attendant is upbeat and energetic, similar to Funtime Freddy. He enjoys doing activities with children, such as putting on puppet shows and drinking Fizzy Fazz, but when Gregory knocks down the foam stacks as a way to distract him, his son quickly panics and then rushes to clean them up. He's also very serious about keeping the lights on as a way to prevent himself from transforming into the Moon. As the Moon, the Daycare Attendant is malevolent and aggressive, who constantly chases Gregory once the lights are turned off and attempts to punish him for going past his bedtime, even though Moon still has a distaste for messes and has the responsibility of cleaning them up as his daytime counterpart does, but to a more demented degree, because, you know, of course it does. And this kind of switcheroo is exactly something that I would expect to be in the Backrooms. This kind of demented creature able to follow you at the top of every hour, yeah. At least it would give you a way to keep track of time, but every hour would honestly be a lot. It would be a lot to deal with, especially because we don't know a way out yet. Halfway through into number 5, Boulder Toy Bonnie. Boulder Toy Bonnie is a stone Toy Bonnie released on November 9th of 2020 in Fnaf AR. He was also added as Toy Bonnie's second skin and the second member of the Haunted Forest event. Boulder Toy Bonnie is a completely gray Toy Bonnie made up entirely of stone. His body shows severe damage as parts of him have crumbled off and various cracks show throughout his stomach and limbs. He's also shown to be covered in moss and has vegetation growing out of some of the cracks in his body. Finally, his eye sockets are also completely empty like my soul, and he has a full set of upper teeth unlike his normal counterpart. And if this isn't just like the Five Nights at Freddy's version of Peanut, the SCP, I don't know what is, okay? Like this is just Peanut with a different paint job. For all I know, Boulder Toy Bonnie is probably reinforced with rebar. And while they may not be SCP-173, I still feel like this is the sort of behavior that we could expect from Bonnie, or at least this version of Bonnie in the Backrooms. And I think it would actually fit in quite well, to be honest. I think it would work. Camera's on him, pans away, and then he's gone. Rated for Nightmare. Nightmare is a nightmare animatronic who first debuts in FNAF 4 as the game's final antagonist. He is a recolored and slightly translucent version of Nightmare Fredbear. Nightmare is literally a representation of death in the FNAF universe, being present in Crying Child's mind as he's trying to survive the coma that he was put into thanks to Fredbear's bite, which also makes it understandable why the Death Omen is a pitch black version of Fredbear. Nightmare's appearance is almost identical to Nightmare Fredbear's, however, the only drastic difference is that the costume color has changed to black, and the bow tie and top hat have changed from purple to yellow. If images featuring Nightmare are also brightened, it would also reveal that Nightmare's costume is actually translucent, as if its endoskeleton is cloaked in shadow, and as such, I think it's exactly the kind of monster that would be present in the Backrooms. And since I included the Nightmare Endo in the last part, it could be a whole like Nightmare was there and ended up losing the shadow part of him for some reason. I don't know, maybe the other monster that's there like sucked it up for its own power or something. I don't know, but it's definitely possible, at least in my mind, and that's what matters for this list. Getting close to the end in number 3, Map Bot. Honestly, I kinda wish that there was a map bot in the Backrooms. This would have been something that would be incredibly helpful in a seemingly infinite maze. The map bot is probably one of the most hated animatronics in FNAF of all time, with the worst jump scare in all of FNAF, but especially in all of Security Breach. This is something though that is certainly the scariest part of that game, and an unexpected jump scare that actually ends up even scaring me in the Security Breach, but it's ruined by Mod's series playthrough here on the channel. But the jump scare giving you a map for the basement levels actually could be useful if you were given a map for the back rooms. I mean, come on, we could really use one. Just look at like any actual image or design for the back rooms. It's all the same. And that's the point, okay? It's the same wall texture, it's the same floor texture. Even when you go to a different floor, it looks the same. Some landmarks, like maybe a dumpster, but nothing substantial enough to actually help you find your way until you get there. So yeah, a map would certainly come in handy. I don't think MapBot would be in the Backrooms for scare purposes, although it would certainly add to it. I think that the MapBot would be there just as a bit of pity, you know, as a bit of help, so you could actually manage to find your way around if you could actually end up finding the map bot. Penultimately, in at number 2, Vani Bots. The Vani Bots, as I call them, or as they're listed on the wiki, the Marion staff bots, bear the same model appearance to their newer counterparts, excluding a rusty texture, glowing eyes, and a creepy smile drawn on their blank, unforgiving faces. They also have black tear streaks in a similar fashion to Night Marion, or more specifically, the ghosts of William Afton's past victims, seen in their ghost forms pixelated in the second and third game's minigames. The bots also have "In Your Dreams" written on their chest, because you know what? They had to do something. The Night Marion staff bots' roles are largely unchanged from regular staff bots. However, they only really appear like in a specific area. Okay, the Vani bots are only lethal in the sewers, killing the player if they fall into the pits, but they also mostly appear in hidden areas and during Vani's final sequence where they disassemble Freddy and act as obstacles to the player reaching Vani's room. They also appear guarding the Fnaf 6 location during the true ending, otherwise known as the canon or Afton ending. But just one look at these guys and you can see how I wouldn't be surprised if one of these, or a group of these, damn it, even ended up in the back rooms, because yeah. Finally, in at number 1, Glam Rockendo. The Glam Rockendos are the endoskeletons engineered for the Mega Pizzaplex's Glam Rock animatronics and appear in Fnaf Security Breach as a group of hostile enemies. The Glam Rockendos are a very high-tech version of the original endoskeleton, being gray in color as usual like Endos 1 and Endos 2, but they have a much stronger, bigger build with wider shoulders and a big like superhero kind of torso. This torso is also covered in gold wires and it's glowing red eyes. However, later in the ending it is also shown that their eyes were glowing as they were controlled by something else. But these damn things are creepy as hell and seem like they would fit right in with the Backrooms group of monsters. The Glam Rockendos can only move when the player is not looking at them. When the player stares at it, they will stand motionless, typically, unless they can't really tell because they're like behind a pole or something. When the player looks away, that's when it moves to attack. Most often they tend to be inert until the player performs an action which they are required to in the game, which actually ends up awakening them. What if these endos have been present in the Backrooms this whole time, but they have been inactive until now? Yeah, and then all of a sudden they get activated and then you're screwed. Yeah, this would 100% be something that would be found in the Backrooms. You can't tell me anything different. Alright, you know. Then this is why I had to make a part 2 to put this on the list. Cause god damn, how did I miss this the first time? And at 10, Plush Babies. Plush Babies are 3 plushie antagonists in Fnaf Help Wanted. They are plush versions of Circus Baby and are a part of the Freddy Fazbear Virtual Experience, the game that we playtest in that game that we play, which is already a whole other can of worms, but whatever. The Plush Babies, as the name suggests, are plushies based on Circus Baby. They are small and white with orange hair, red noses, red cheeks, and blue eyes with eyelashes. The 3 are distinguished by their dress colors of red, blue, and yellow. The blue plush baby has red stitching on her torso. The yellow plush baby is missing her right eye. Around their eyes they have black outlining sewn onto them resembling the faceplates of Circus Baby. And in their black light level, the plush babies are replaced by their black light counterparts, the Scrap plush babies. Their appearance is more based on Scrap Baby, with more greenish eyes, which based on the baby animatronic is certainly going to make things confusing, because I doubt that these dolls are possessed by Elizabeth. However, while the original Circus Baby did have blue eyes, Scrap Baby was only shown with green eyes, which could explain the difference. But either way, okay, these little buggers are everywhere, so their dark room would absolutely be in the back rooms somewhere. I wouldn't doubt it at all. In at 9, Withered Bonnie. Withered Bonnie is an antagonist in Fnaf 2, and a recurring character that also appears in Help Wanted. He is a damaged version of the original Bonnie incarnation. Withered Bonnie is a dirty, dry blue with a lighter blue on his ears and torso. His face is missing, leaving a dark gap with wires dangling all over. His endoskeleton face and red and white pupils are scarcely visible. He has round, thin teeth on his bottom jaw, and given his state of disrepair, I think it would make complete sense for this monster to be present in the back rooms. I mean, this guy is like the original Nightmare animatronic in a sense. 100% 100% the scariest part of FNAF 2 in the eyes of many people. And if it's not, you really need to sort out your priorities, because this dude is terrifying. Their whole thing is being seemingly broken only to spring to life and come after you, which is just the kind of thing that would be present in the backrooms. This dude is a menace, and with his ability to flicker lights like we see in Ultimate Custom Night and FNAF 2, he would pose a difficult challenge to overcome, especially with the monster that's already present there right on your tail. And at 8, Shadow Animatronics. The Shadow Animatronics are ghost-like entities with an unknown place of origin, whereabouts, and history. Shadow Freddy and RWQFSFASXC, aka Shadow Bonnie, are the only two recurring Shadow Animatronics from throughout the series. The Shadow Animatronics lack solid forms as they appear to be shadows, supernatural specter-like things with forms based on the Fazbear Entertainment animatronics. Most of them have very dark colors while sporting glowing white eyes and teeth, which is just perfect for the context of the backrooms. These dudes share a very similar style to the monster that we already see running around in the popular video series, and these dudes would pose an ever-looming threat that would really heighten the intensity of these videos. Imagine just like a shadow flying across the screen, or thinking you see some dark figure out of the corner of your eye, and then it's gone. A flashlight could be used as a defense mechanism. Okay, it would be cool. Okay, it would be cool. And at 7, Phantom Animatronics. The Phantom Animatronics are hallucination variants of the original animatronics who haunt in Fazbear's Fright throughout the nights in FNAF 3. The Freddy Files book also points out that these hallucinations also appear burnt, suggesting that they're trying to warn you of what's to come. The Phantom Animatronics first appeared in Five Nights at Freddy's 3 as side antagonists, some of them returned in Ultimate Custom Night, and then they all came back in Help Wanted. But given that these are hallucinations, it's entirely possible that these Phantom Animatronics could appear in the backrooms. Think about it. If you're stuck in an endless void of what looks to be the same area for who knows how long, you're gonna start to go crazy. Even if you don't, sleep deprivation at the hands of not wanting to get caught by the monster already in there would surely cause you to start hallucinating after being awake for 48 hours. So those hallucinations could very well be the same ones from FNAF 3, especially if you're a fan of the series. And at 6, Nightmare Endo. Nightmare Endo is the animatronic endoskeleton of Nightmare Fredbear. He technically first debuted in FNAF 4, but returned as a minor Easter egg in Help Wanted to help provide a bit of context. Mostly since a lot of people, myself included, thought that Nightmare had a brain that was visible from the outside. I mean, I don't know why the Nightmare animatronic have an endoskeleton, or even why Nightmare especially has an endoskeleton, given that he's just a figment of Crying Child's coma-induced imagination, but nevertheless, Nightmare Endo is probably the scariest version of an endoskeleton that I have seen. Like, holy crap. If this thing doesn't belong in the backrooms, I don't think any of these would, cause like this one is freaky, but realistically made and discarded by the devs. Or maybe the animatronic that this was made for in Chuck E. Cheese ended up falling through the world and then got into the backrooms the same way we did. I don't know, I just think this style of character fits in here pretty well. Halfway through, in at number 5, System Error Toy Bonnie. System Error Toy Bonnie is a neon-themed skin for Toy Bonnie released as part of FNAF AR's Arcade Mayhem event. And while it may seem peculiar and out of place in the backrooms, think about it. The backrooms is a location that's only accessible by no-clipping through the world, accidentally. So understandably, something that revolves around system errors would be lurking within this developer's room, okay? He looks the part too. He shares the same model as Toy Bonnie, but with a few key differences. His general color, including his bow tie, is a neon reddish orange with lines that go through his entire body, similar to the screen effect of an old CRT TV. He also has a pixelated 8-bit style effect coming from his entire body. His mouth and eyes gleam yellow, and red system error text is printed on his stomach, and glowing white eyebrows, freckle spots, and a glowing nose, but he's not Rudolph. How is this not creepy backrooms material, okay? It's a bit iffy, hence why it's still at number 5, but still, it could be cool. And at 4, the Blob. The Blob is an amalgamation of various animatronics that appears in FNAF Security Breach as a secret antagonists. And as its name suggests, the Blob is a huge mass of wire, tentacles, and animatronic parts possessing many glowing red eyes. However, this seems to be the right kind of monster that you would find in the backrooms. The Blob's mind is that of a mindless monster reacting with simple grunts and screeches that are both deep and distorted, as well as low mechanical sounding snoring noises. Some theorize that this implies all the animatronics making up the amalgamation are constantly fighting each other for control, which I think would fit perfectly with the monsters already established to be in the backrooms, especially those in the popular YouTube series that kinda brought back this creepypasta. Dude is like just a mass with a couple of animatronic plastic faces smacked on top. That is 100% something that you'd see out of like the corner of your eye eye in the corner of the frame, and then you pan to see it and it's gone. Getting close to the end, and in number 3, the puppet. The puppet is an animatronic puppet and a major antagonist of the Fnaf series. First appearing as the seemingly main antagonist of Fnaf 2, the way we've seen this character move along with their design is very reminiscent of some fan images made of the Backrooms. The puppet seemingly moves by floating, something shared with many fan creations of Backrooms Monsters, and if not, we saw it walk in Fnaf VR in one of the most horrifyingly disgusting ways. So yeah, I mean, ignoring the fact that they used to be a security bot and only attack the player because they look like the man that killed them, you can't tell me that the puppet would be out of place in the Backrooms. I mean, like, this thing has discernible characteristics that would make it scarier. I mean, a seemingly lifeless blob with no face whose only purpose is to kill you is one thing, but that with a face and motivation makes it even scarier. But ultimately, and at number 2, Springtrap. Springtrap is the final boss of the true ending in FNAF Security Breach and the last remains of William Afton's physical body after the events of Pizzeria Simulator. Just like Springtrap and Scraptrap from previous FNAF games, Springtrap is a withered Spring Bonnie animatronic infused with the corpse of William Afton. However, unlike the previous two, very little suit remains on his body, only having a head, ears, torso, pelvis, left thigh, and left foot. His endoskeleton appears to be a mixture of Springlock and Glam Rock endoskeletons, and this dude is the scariest version of Afton yet. And I think it's kind of a monstrosity, and I think that this kind of monstrosity would fit perfectly within the style of the Backrooms. He limps because he wasn't fully charged, he's part sentient code, which seems like the kind of lore that they would include, and he's just blatantly terrifying. If any version of Afton is going to be in the Backrooms, it would be Springtrap 100%, no question. And finally, in at number 1, Marion. Marion, commonly referred to as the Nightmare Puppet or Nightmarionette, is a nightmare animatronic in the FNAF series, first appearing in the Halloween update for FNAF 4, where it replaces Nightmare and thus shares the same behavior. But using the same argument as the Blob with the whole tentacle situation, Marion is probably the most Backrooms animatronic we have. Period. While yes, they did appear in FNAF 4's Halloween update, they also made an appearance in FNAF VR, where they antagonize the player in one of the Night Terror levels. But it's within this level where you can actually see how far of a reach this animatronic has, since if you look up to the ceiling and towards the bed, you can see tentacles slowly start to enter your room that you need to scare away with your flashlight. So basically, based on the really prevalent monster that we see in the Backrooms, this man fits the bill right on, smack dab in the middle, plus a like 25% tip, just saying. In at 10, Twisted Alice. Twisted Alice is the monster form of Susie Campbell, one of the Alice Angel characters in the cycle and the secondary antagonist of the Bendy series, appearing as the main antagonist of chapter 3 and 4 of the first game, as well as another level antagonist in Boris in the Dark Survival. She also returns in Bendy in the Dark Revival. Twisted Alice appears to be a young and kind of a humanoid replica of Alice Angel with straight and medium black hair, thin eyebrows, and black lipstick. She wears a semi-broken halo that is melted onto the left side of her head, and also has short horns, because apparently that's also what angels have. The left side of her face also is melted like her halo, except this time it looks like melted wax, with half of her teeth being exposed, and then an empty left eye socket with a few ink-like tears, although I think we can all tell that it's not ink. On her neck there also appears to be a slit oozing what again looks like ink, but let's be honest, it's not. And I mean, like, this is just a fairly easy pick for what would be in the Backrooms, okay? Like, dude, this is just a monster. This is what she actually is. And so yeah, and since that's kind of the whole point, her being an ink monster that would be discarded, that's why she's here. But since, again, that's her whole theme, that's why she's at 10, alright? But it's still a pretty solid choice. It's a pretty solid start. In at 9, Sammy Lawrence. Sammy Lawrence was an award-winning musician and composer and the director of the music department at Joey Drew Studios, known for writing the music for Bendy cartoons in the studio's heyday. Around 1946, as revealed by Dreams Come to Life, the novel, he stole a large number of ink bottles that were used for the ink machine. He then proceeded to drink them day by day as some kind of like weird Crowley human blood addiction, and then ultimately transformed into a mind-corrupted creature of ink. He later appears in Bendy and the Ink Machine as one of the major antagonists pursuing Henry during the game, and is just an all-around weird dude, okay? Like, the ink form of Sammy is like the result of ink corruption mixed with insanity after he became addicted to drinking ink machine ink, but he also never went through the actual ink machine. So thanks to this, he became insane and just put on a Bendy mask, then tried to become Bendy, and then also started sacrificing other former employees, okay? This literally sounds like an origin story that will get sued. because it's like scary familiar to me. I don't know why, okay? Or maybe that's just the voices in my head. But no matter what, this dude would be in the backrooms. You can't tell me. He's drinking ink. Come on! In a 9 Glitchtrap. I know Glitchtrap isn't really an animatronic, however, in that world, in the Fnaf world, he is also from a video game, so honestly, he could have been one. And if not, he's still sentient code that could possess anything when given the opportunity. So basically, anything sentient in the backrooms could, in theory, be possessed by Glitchtrap. But that's just a theory. A possession theory! I mean, the dude can possess Vanessa through a VR headset, so I don't know what he can't do. So might as well just assume that he can do everything so that we can have him on this list, right? Either way, basically anything in the backrooms could in theory be William because of his powers. I mean, not like everything obviously, like the random dumpster or a baseball bat can't be William, I think. But the monster we see in these YouTube videos about the backrooms could absolutely be William. Or it could maybe just be hinted at for the keen observer if they're actually a FNAF fan. Do I think that this is the case? Absolutely not. Do I think that it's fun to speculate? Absolutely yes. And are we still gonna get on like I just killed the Queen of England? Oh, you betcha. Oh, you And it's 7 Butcher Gang. The Butcher Gang is a group of horribly disfigured creatures based on Joey Drew's Studios cartoon characters, mainly the original Butcher Gang from the Bendy cartoons. I feel like that's pretty obvious. Their bodies show horrific mutations with random objects in place of missing body parts. Various other elements move to the wrong place. One has like a mouth on the top of their head. And it's basically to the point that they look unrecognizable to their original selves. Their demeanor resembles the original Butcher Gangs, but you know, they have slightly low intelligence. No, they're dumb, okay? They can't speak properly. They talk in extreme gibberish, more than me, and they can rarely speak clear words, although I relate to that one. But still, it's absolutely something that I would expect to be in the backrooms, especially given how disfigured they are. I mean, like, the backrooms is supposed to be a developer area with discarded and unused files and assets, right? So why wouldn't the horribly mutated and messed up Butcher Gang be here in this context, okay? Piper, Fisher, Stryker, they're basically the Hex Girls of the backrooms in my eyes. Like, they'd be singing while also slowly trying to kill me, and I mostly said Hex Girls because I don't want to summon a sentient code serial killer, which if I said the other thing, definitely would. And it's 6 Projectionist. The Projectionist is a cyborg-like ink creature that is just one of the many inhabitants of the cycle and just an inky reincarnation of Joey Drew Studios' lead projectionist Norman Polk. He's like a 3rd level antagonist in Chapter 3 and Chapter 4 of Bendy and the Ink Machine, and a secondary antagonist in Boris and the Dark Survival. He also returns as a minor supporting character in Dark Revival, but the thing is, he's basically like just a tall humanoid creature that is mostly completely covered in ink, and most notably has a projector on his head. Yeah. Several long black hanging wires, which are possibly meant to be film roll, are attached to like the back of his head and then like attached to his back through that. There's a long wire attaching to his right ankle. I don't know why his whole body needs to be hooked up to it, but you know, you do you, bro. I ain't judging. He has a film reel stuck on his left shoulder. His head is a freaking projector, and like, come on. Okay, look at the walking projector ink monster infused with a human soul and tell me that that's not gonna make sense to me in the backrooms. Exactly. These things were almost designed to fit in here, okay? Save for like the cartoon look, which for the purposes of this list and the entirety of this list really, we're dismissing that look since in the backrooms I feel like they'd be realistic. And also, you've made it halfway through if you're still here, alright? So if you're here, subscribe. You kind of obviously want to. I can tell. Halfway through into number 5, Ink Machine. While technically not a character, the Ink Machine is kind of in a way required in the backrooms in order for all of the rest of this list to make sense. The massive ink-powered machine was installed by Joey Drew for his studio, and the Ghent company was the one who was trying to help him do it, and by help him do it, I mean help him create living entities for an animation company. Yeah. Wally Frank was the only person allowed to actually attend to the ink machine and kind of fix it up, and it was also the main plot device that triggered literally everything in this series because of the ink that flows through it. It becomes apparent that the ink machine functions similar to a 3D printer in a sense. It turns 2D sketches into realistic physical models, but also, unlike a 3D printer, infuses them with humans. Later on, the ink machine becomes enchanted by mysterious circumstances that now it creates living cartoon characters out of souls, which is a very Disney move, as I've explained in the past. However, as I've said, we kinda need this for every other number on this list to make sense. And at 4, Wilson. Wilson Ark is the main antagonist of Bendy and the Dark Revival. He's the son of Nathan Ark, the founder of Arkgate Films, or Archgate Films depending on how you want to say it, and an old friend of Joey Drew. Wilson is a very deceitful person, shown by his ability to manipulate Audrey into doing multiple things. He portrays himself as weak, fragile, and an old man, but he is very careful with the words that he chooses, making him exceptional at manipulation, kind of like my ex. And I mean the old man part. Behind this disguise of his though, he is a very narcissistic and self-centered person, referring to himself as the cycle's savior and basically demanding worship. But honestly, this man would be the one controlling the backrooms, okay? Think like the game master from Sword Art Online or the game masters from the Hunger Games that are like controlling the dome or whatever it is. That's basically who this guy would be for the backrooms. The guy controlling things that just wants to make your life a living hell for the fun of it. That's what he would do, and that's why he's here. Getting close to the end of number 3, Henry. Henry Stein is a former animator and the co-founder of Joey Drew Studios, working with his partner Joey Drew. He's responsible for the creation of various cartoon characters, including Bendy, Boris, and Alice Angel, and given his appearance in Bendy and the Dark Revival, I feel like him showing up in the backrooms isn't too out of the question. Especially since, in my head at least, the cycle is like the backrooms equivalent for the Bendy series. So Henry being there in Dark Revival kind of solidifies that idea in my brain. Now I'm not quite sure how accurate that is since I haven't gotten that far into the game yet, but I feel like this is a pretty accurate analogy, but I'm sure you'll correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. And you know what? If I'm wrong, the backrooms always needs a protagonist, right? Yeah, you're damn right, so shove it, haters. He's on this list, deal with it. But ultimately, in at number 2, Ink Demon. Ink Bendy, also known as the Ink Demon, is the main antagonist of the Bendy franchise. He is a failed attempt at creating the Joey Drew Studios' popular mascot Bendy in real life using the ink machine, and is just all around a defect among several other cartoon physical incarnations because this one is lacking a soul. Ink Bendy is a tall malformed figure with skin made of black ink, skin. He resembles Tar. Think the Tar Pit monster from Scooby-Doo, and that's this guy. His head highly resembles that of the original Bendy, but possessed, and like basically my sleep paralysis demon. His horns are curved, and you know, they're like demon horns, and he's able to use them to kind of like simulate animal ears, but also like, come on guys, okay? You can't look at a literal ink demon and tell me that it wouldn't appear in the backrooms. A place where the creature typically illustrated as the one using it as its hunting ground, okay? That entity thing could also be seen as a creature made of ink, okay? Actually, how do you look at Bendy and just say that he wouldn't? Go ahead, tell this terrifying creature to his face that he can't be in the backrooms because he isn't scary enough, or whatever angry comment you've already left on this video, okay? Go ahead. He's already like the color of the wallpaper when you don't have the ink, okay? So we might as well let him chill there. And finally, in number 1, Beast Bendy. Oh, there you go. You did it. You told him it and you made him mad. There you go. Beast Bendy is an alternate monstrous form of Ink Bendy and the final boss of Bendy and the Ink Machine. He later comes back in Bendy and the Dark Revival. This powerful form of Ink Bendy is far more intimidating, larger, and is almost entirely ink, and just Jesus Christ. Compared to his original form, the shape of this monstrosity is almost symmetrical in a sense. While still having absent eyes, his enlarged head is like very cartoonish. He has a wide mouth, he has rows of sharp teeth, and it just, I don't know, he's like showing the gums, okay? He's really into it, probably too into it. The bow tie and the left glove on his hand are also just gone now somehow, and just, he's overall more ferocious and animal-like in his behavior. It's terrifying, okay? He moves like on his knuckles and fights like a goddamn gorilla, and his legs are like shrinking. Like, I don't get it. okay? He's going to haunt my nightmares, but also the backrooms, and you can't say anything about it because I've already made the list, alright? He's the most video game equivalent version of a backrooms entity I have ever seen, okay? Aside from like glitches in general, okay? So yeah, definitely gonna top the list. And if you're wondering what it would be like to have Bendy be real, in at 10, Great Escape Golden Freddy. Great Escape Golden Freddy, or for short, simply Great Escape Freddy, is the first Golden Freddy skin that was added into Fnaf AR. He received this skin as a part of the special mixed reality DLC game mode Dark Circus Encore that released on December 13th, 2021. Great Escape Golden Freddy is identical to Golden Freddy in coloration, still being yellow, but now is a much duller shade, with black and green splotches on his head, legs, and feet. His head is severely withered in multiple areas, with most of it being deteriorated or missing, including half of his top hat. His eye sockets are completely empty, with holes going through the endoskeleton head and a chain running through his mouth. But like, just looking at this thing, I already fear for my life like I'm in another dimension or like a secret area of the simulation. So, seeing this thing in the back rooms wouldn't, in my mind, be out of place. I mean, if this is where like defective game implements go, this could be a simple explanation for how this mess of a creature got there, because I don't think that this is intentional. At least it shouldn't be. In at 9, Radioactive Foxy. Radioactive Foxy is one of the Wasteland themed skins in the Wasteland event of Special Delivery. Radioactive Foxy is almost identical to normal Foxy, the only difference being that Radioactive Foxy is glowing neon green, and his body is actually kind of translucent as well, making his endoskeleton fairly visible. It also features a faint radioactive symbol on his stomach, and a dual hook consisting of a different design compared to that of Foxy's normal hook, because he's radioactive and therefore he's mutated. Get it? Well, you know this thing is creepy enough to be in the backrooms by default, okay? Not being put there, not being placed there, not falling through, just being there from the start at the moment of creation. Hell, the backrooms may have been created to contain Radioactive Foxy. The dude is an actual menace. And at 8, VR Toy Freddy. VR Toy Freddy is a neon-themed skin of Toy Freddy released on May 7th, 2020. He is also the first skin for Toy Freddy in Fnaf AR Special Delivery. He is the first of 3 skins in the Arcade Mayhem event, and honestly, these 3 animatronics, they would all make sense in the backrooms, okay? I've put them all on the various lists. They've been like 1 per list, and they would be. VR Toy Freddy appears to be of similar nature to Toy Freddy Fazbear, almost sharing the exact same model with him, but this one is wearing VR goggles. His appearance is almost a dark neon purple and black, which also applies to his hat, bow tie, and buttons and microphone. He's textured with a few cyber-styled circuit lines and wears a VR headset, but my question is, what brand? Is it HTC Vive, Valve, PlayStation VR, or Oculus? Preferably Oculus, that's my brand of choice. Hashtag not sponsored. However, during encounters, he is replaced by his attack mode variant called Livewire Toy Freddy. In this form, his purple color changes to a fiery orange, he's covered in several glowing yellow circuit web textures, and he is no longer wearing his headset and reveals his bright yellow-green eyes. And just as I've described with System Error Toy Bonnie and High Score Toy Chica, this would be a likely entity to appear in the backrooms if it is indeed a developer room for the simulation. And it's 7, Mini-Renas. Mini-Renas are small, bare, female-style mannequin-like dolls that accompany Ballora in her gallery, dancing alongside of her. They seem to be modeled after artist mannequins with articulated joints and heads that appear to be simply full white masks covering a ball joint at the neck. They do not have any details or moving facial parts, no teeth, no eyes, the only exception being during their jump scare animation, at which time they have glowing yellow irises. Potentially for paranormal reasons, but it's unclear. Their feet are colored in a pale white to make them look like they're wearing shoes, and when on stage with Ballora they wear tutus, like she does, because of course they do. How could they get any creepier? Only colored in white though, and less detailed than hers. However, they are completely bare during Sister Location's Night Force Springlock suit event, which makes me feel like I need to call Chris Hansen, but either way, these little fuckers are absolutely backrooms material. I mean, tell me I'm wrong. Try and disagree with me. These are just trying to crawl inside me so they'll burst from the inside like they do in Fazbear Frights' book Room for One More, or in the story Room for One More. But instead of escaping the backrooms, they just want me to explode. Or hell, they'll crawl inside me hoping that I'll escape so that I can take them with me. Just no, okay? hell no. Oh, hell no. And at 6, Toxic Springtrap. Toxic Springtrap is the second skin in the Wasteland event from Fnaf AR, and he's also the first skin for Springtrap in that game. Toxic Springtrap has a repulsive appearance, covered in pale-like tumor-like warts, tentacle-like veins, and some moldy skin patches. And he also is exuding gassy fumes at all times, kinda like me. The infectious-looking traits, including his corpse, were shaded with purple and indigo tints as possibly a throwback to his iconic color of his human form's minigame appearance, the purple guy. But I mean, along the same lines as Radioactive Foxy, this is just a seemingly broken mechanic that would get thrown away for when they wanted to do the whole Apocalypse DLC in the simulation or something. This virus didn't kill us, so might as well try again with a series of mutated and toxic animatronics, right? Ha! Well, at least this version of Springtrap is still less toxic than some of my exes, and I will keep making that joke until it stops being true. Halfway through into number 5, Helpy. Helpy made his first appearance at Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator, aka Fnaf 6. Helpy is a small animatronic mascot that has a very similar appearance to Funtime Freddy from Sister Location with white and purple colors, albeit being smaller and chubbier. He kinda has like a Fnaf World kind of vibe. Helpy also lacks an endoskeleton, a speaker, inner wirings, and faceplates. His overall description though has many similarities, like I said, to the designs of the characters in the Fnaf spin-off Fnaf World, because he's more friendly looking and small and chonky. And while typically helpful characters wouldn't really be seen in the backrooms, Helpy seems to be able to get anywhere and everywhere he wants. He can seemingly come from the Fnaf World game and become canon. He can pop up behind the monitor in Fnaf VR on random occasions. He can pop up in like opening filing cabinets in Fnaf 2 in Fnaf VR, so I wouldn't put it past him for him just showing up in an area only accessible by no clipping out of reality. The man literally transcended game dimensions, or even in the context of Fnaf, just normal dimensions, so yeah, Helpy in the backrooms, totally not out of the question. In fact, it should be canon. And for Springtrap. Springtrap, previously known as Spring Bonnie, is the main antagonist of Fnaf 3 and a withered form of Spring Bonnie, and the main antagonist of the Fnaf series overall. On the wiki, he is listed as being possessed by William Afton. However, the truth is that Springtrap is William Afton after surviving the Springlock failure scene in Fnaf 3's minigames, surviving thanks to being possessed by the spirit of the one you should not have killed. But in the backrooms, he would absolutely be present, okay? This guy is an absolute menace, and being the main antagonist, if anyone is going to be there, William certainly would. And Springtrap is the most popular version of this character. Plus, his design seems to fit this style really well. Springtrap is a tattered, formerly yellow Springlock animatronic rabbit with olive green tints, notably on his stomach and the inside of his ears. Like with the withered animatronics from Fnaf 2, Springtrap also appears to be in heavy disrepair, evident from the multiple tears throughout his body and wires poking out of his arms and legs. My thinking is that his withering though is due to him trying to get out of the suit by ripping it off of him. But clearly, it didn't really work. Getting close to the end, and at number 3, Nightmare Animatronics. The Nightmare Animatronics are also heavily withered, exaggeratingly monstrous versions of the existing animatronics that reside inside the crying child's coma dream in Fnaf 4. Most of the Nightmare Animatronics are featured with a deteriorated appearance and a big series of rips and holes all over their bodies, sporting a total of 10 fingers each with spike-like claws attached. Great, wonderful. Also an excessively large amount of long, dangerously sharp teeth. They also have small metallic eyes, because of course they do. Their endoskeleton heads look suspiciously similar to that of a human skull, with a line of indentations down their forehead, and considering their name, it's literally the Nightmare Animatronics that I think would absolutely be fitting to be in the backrooms. I mean, like, look at them and tell me that these buggers don't belong here, and you'll be lying to me. But at least you're not under oath. But ultimately, in at number 2, Plushtrap. You've completed a mini-game in Help Wanted, alright? The DLC or the main game. You spent the last 10 minutes being terrified out of your wits because you could have died, but it's okay now. It's all over and you're safe. You see a gift box in front of you and this spooky barn-like thing, and you've decided that, you know what, you've earned yourself a little treat. So after throwing some darts at some clown posters to see if there is one, you end up cranking that handle and you wait for your sweet treat. But then, all of a sudden, Plushtrap decides that, you know what, you should have died instead in that minigame, so he jump scares you. This event is a number of things, but Possible in the Backrooms, in my mind, is one of them. You stumble upon a random box with a handle that you start to crank. You hear the Pop Goes the Weasel song playing slowly, and suddenly you have a damn tiny burnt tortilla ass looking rabbit monster chasing you all throughout the backrooms. That makes sense, but no thank you. Not gonna happen. I don't like it. I mean, I like it, it's a good idea, but don't do it. And finally, in number 1, Glam Rock Freddy. Glam Rock Freddy, also just simply known as Freddy Fazbear, is Freddy's Glam Rock counterpart who appears in FNAF Security Breach as an ally to the player. He's also the only animatronic in the Pizzaplex that wasn't corrupted by Vani's power, at least so we think. Go check out another video for that one. But unlike his counterparts, he actively assists and protects Gregory, and I think his purpose would be much the same in the Backrooms. With everything we've seemed to be throwing in here, with the last like 2 lists and this one, we could really use an ally, okay? And Freddy could be that ally. The actual mech function would be of great help as long as we're the size of a 4-year-old, but either way, he could definitely help fight off the other monsters like he does in the Phaser Blast ending for Security Breach. Freddy could also gain power-ups, prize boxes such as longer battery life, and this would be the perfect reason to continue exploring the Backrooms other than just trying to find a way out. And it would really give the series an added layer of intrigue, and honestly, if it was me, it would prevent me from just sitting there and dying, because I'd actually want to be able to upgrade him so that I could find a way out, because if I didn't, I would have just given up.